Hi everybody, welcome to problem one of hopefully many. I'm going to start to work through the Leetcode database hard problems. Might jump into medium and easy if it's something you want to see or you think would be helpful. Or if there's other things, other websites, other platforms you want me to do problems on, let me know. I just really like solving SQL problems, as weird as that is. So with that, bear in mind, this is my first video. Please let me know if there's any issues with the quality, audio, video, if I'm just rambling, if I need to be slower, faster, more concise, just open to any and all feedback. And then also, there's a billion ways to solve these SQL problems. So if you have a more elegant, optimal, nicer, cooler looking solution that you came up with, please let me know. I'd love to learn from you as well. So sweet, let's jump in. We're gonna do problem 262, trips and users. It is a hard problem. So let's open it up. The way that I like to attack these SQL problems is I first like to look at the prompt. What are they asking me to find? What are they wanting me to return in my output? That way, when I'm looking at my example data, which is step two, I'm able to kind of key in on certain columns or, certain columns that might help my solution or start to think of an approach, or it just allows me to start thinking about the problem quicker. So then I jump into the example data, and then finally I look at the output for any kind of tips, hints, tricks on either formatting or get an idea of how to approach the solution. So 262, trips and users. Let's scroll down here. So this is our problem statement. So write a SQL query to find the cancellation rate of requests with unbanned users. Both client and driver must not be banned. That's in bold, so we'll remember that. Each day between October 1st, 2013 and October 3rd, 2013. Round the cancellation rate to 2 decimal points. Return the result table in any order. Okay, cool. That makes sense. That sounds pretty straightforward. We can figure that out. So we have a trips table. Looks like client ID, driver ID, status, and request at are our important columns. Users table, user ID, if they're banned, and then output. So it looks like each day has its own row. So we have a pretty good idea that we'll group by day, and then the cancellation rate associated with that day. Cool, looks good. So let's jump into writing our query. The way how I write SQL and just code in general is I like to write it in chunks and run it a bunch of times to test different things out, get a feel for the data, and then also understand where bugs might be. What did I just introduce that broke my code or gave me an unexpected error? So let's break this into pieces. First, I'm gonna solve this. We only want trips between these days. So let's write select t.request at, and I saw that they want us to label the column a certain way, request at as day. From the trips table, I do like to alias my tables. I think it's just good practice and is really helpful when you have like a longer, more complex query to understand where the data is, like where your data is coming from, which table, especially if you have a bunch joined in. Also, I just think it looks really cool, so also a pro. Cool, so now we're gonna write our where statement. So we want to filter only on, or only the range between these dates. So where 1 equals 1 and t.request at between, identify them as dates, 2013 1001 and date 2013 1003. Really quick, I like to write where 1 equals 1 because I'm lazy. It's super silly, and I just got in the habit of doing it after seeing some friends do it. And what it does is it's always going to be true, so you never have to change this where clause. It essentially does nothing, but it allows you to only have to worry about ands and ors. An example of that, say we wanted to search for, at first we're like, okay, where band is equal to yes and request between these days. But now we don't want this anymore. We don't want band users. If I run this, which I definitely just do because I click way too fast, is I get a compiler error because I don't have a where clause. It'd say unexpected and or something like that. So if I have this where 1 equals 1 and I wanted to delete this line, it will still run fine, even if I have other ands down here. So that's why I do it. It's not necessary at all, but again, looks cool. So let me run this, and what we should see is we should only see dates coming back that are within the range that we specified. So 1001, that looks like the smallest value, and 1003 looks like the largest value. So that's all good. Part 1 complete, gold star. So what do we want to solve next? Let's solve this. We only want unbanned users. If we look at our example table, we see one specifically, client 2, is banned, even though they have a trip that is canceled on 1001. So we don't want this as part of our data set at all. So we need to make sure that it's being excluded from this trips table. How can we do that? I think there's a couple different ways. You could do it through a CTE, common table expression. You could do it through inner joins. And that's where my mind went at first, was like, let's write some inner joins and exclude users that way. But the more I think about it, I think the best approach is probably a subquery. I think, to be honest, I'm not exactly sure on performance, like if it would perform better than a join, but I think it would just look more intuitive and be easy for someone coming to our problem to understand. So let's write one. So we want t.clientID not in, and this is where we'll write our subquery. So we want a list of user IDs from users where band is equal to yes. So what this is saying essentially is any client ID is not in this list of banned users. So that essentially should take out any clients that are banned from our trips table. But we also need to do that for a driver as well. So we can either copy and paste, or I'll just rewrite it. t.driverID not in our list of banned users. So now, one way we can check this is, so in this example, right, we know there's 4 trips on 1001. 2 are canceled, 2 are completed, but 1 is by a banned user. So if we run this now, we should only see 3 of these trips come back. So let's give it a test. 1001, 1001, 1001, 1002. Perfect. We only have 3. This 4th one is now getting filtered out. We are good to go. All the banned users are out of our data set. So the final piece now is like, let's just find this cancellation rate. So how do we compute the cancellation rate? Cancellation rate is computed by dividing the number of canceled by client or driver, doesn't matter, requests with unbanned users by the total number of requests with unbanned users on that day. So we'll start with the numerator. So we're going to do a case when here. If you're just learning SQL, case when being like an if statement. So if it matches a certain criteria, count it. If not, do nothing. So we're going to do a count. And then within that count, case when t.status in canceled by driver and canceled by client, then we want to count that ID. Otherwise, nothing. So we'll just end it there. So here you can see when status is canceled by driver or canceled by client, then count this ID. If not, don't count it. So these are all of this is the number of canceled rides that we have. Then we're going to create our denominator, which is, and I know this is ugly, I'm sorry that it's going to a new line. I'll work on how to format this a little bit better next time, but in this case, it's just all trips for the day, right? So we just have to do count by ID. What we want to do now, we want to round it. So I'm going to add a 2 there, and then up here I'll do a round. And then what should we name this as? We need to name it as cancellation rate. I am going to use quotation marks because it does have a space in it as an identifier. Sweet. And then so the last piece now is we need to do this by day. Like we don't want to do it for every trip, whether the trip is canceled or not. So we're going to group by our day. So group by t.request@, and we're good to go. This should work. And let's read through it, make sure the logic is sound. Select the day. Then we're going to select the cancellation rate. So for each day, we're going to count when the status isn't canceled, divided by all trips, round that to the second decimal place, from the trips table, where the request is between the dates we were given, 10:01 and 10:03, and the client is not in the list of banned users, and the driver is not in the list of banned users, and give that to me by day. So let's run our code, fingers crossed. Always have to do the fingers crossed. Judging accepted. So we passed the first test case. We'll hit the submit button. Good luck to us. As you can see, again, I've already done this a billion times because I've been trying to figure out how to make this video work, but it was accepted. Runtime 869, faster than 33.94% of submissions. We are good to go. We solved it. Great job, everybody. A billion gold stars. Sweet. Like I said, hopefully this is video one of many. Let me know if you have any questions, concerns, comments, suggestions, and I look forward to doing more of these. Thanks, and have a great day.